Hello, my lovely listeners. I'm Dr. Mary Barson.
And I'm Dr. Lucy Burns. Welcome to this episode of Real Health and Weight Loss. Good morning, lovely listeners. I am joined with me today, as always, by the fabulously fit and pregnant Dr. Mary Barson.
I am feeling particularly pregnant today, it is true. Hello, Dr. Lucy.
Hello, gorgeous girl. How are you?
I'm good. Pants are a bit tighter. Have to get some maternity pants. It's got to that stage.
As it should. As it should. The ever-changing pregnant body.
It's quite fun to behold. It is like a nice time when you can just really let it all hang out on display. It's quite fun.
Absolutely. So today, it is the new year. There are a lot of people that have perhaps made resolutions a couple of weeks ago at New Year's Eve, when we always do, vow and declare that year 2022 is going to be better than the year before. But it's about this time that things often grind to a astounding halt. So we thought we'd talk this week about a concept we call it's never too late to start again. So, Maz, when we talk about that, what are we meaning?
It is so common for people when they start a new habit, changing their food, drinking less coffee, drinking less alcohol, trying to get more sleep, that they've got a fair bit of momentum at the start and they're like, yes, I'm doing this, this is great. And then it can fall over for all kinds of reasons. And in particular, changing our food is a really prime example of how people can, as they like to say, fall off the wagon. And there is often this pervasive thought in our collective consciousness that if you fall off the wagon, there's not much you can do about it. You're off the wagon. You just have to stay off the wagon, eat all the things. But it's okay because you can start again on Monday. You can start again next week. I'll start again tomorrow. I'll start again in January. I'll start again later. This is a common story that we tell ourselves, which probably isn't serving us well.
Now, it's interesting because you've been reading a book perhaps on why we have this thought, like what is the basis to it? And I'd love you to chat a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I'm reading a fabulous book called How to Change by Katie Milkman, and she describes the research around behaviour change. She's fascinated by habits and behaviour change, rightfully so, because the quality of our life, the quality of our health, our wellness, our happiness is the sum of all of our little behaviours. And if we want to change our health, our life, any part of ourselves really, we have to change our behaviour. But it's hard. We as humans find behaviour change hard. It's possible. It's just hard. So it's a fabulous book as a kind of support guide to changing behaviours, and she talks about common blocks and how to break through them. One thing that is very interesting is she discusses how it is much easier for us to start a new habit with a clean slate. When we feel like it's a fresh start, we're just, okay, turning over a new leaf, this is it, now I'm going to do it this way. That's in the past, now it's like this, which is one reason why New Year's resolutions are so popular in our culture. There's this collective psychological idea that January is a new start, ready for the new me. I am going to do this. And we can feel that way about Mondays, and we can feel that way about next month and tomorrow and all of these things. And I think it can be very useful. I think that creating the idea of a clean slate is a great idea. However, you don't necessarily need to wait until January next year to get back on track with your healthy behaviour change.
No. What is interesting is that the behaviour here is all about the thought. So the thought of I have a clean slate, or I have a fresh beginning, or I have a new start creates the feeling of hope, and then you change your behaviour based on the idea that you've got hope and perhaps direction. So you can change your thought about the clean slate at any stage. Like there's no magical clean slate that occurs because night has passed and the sun has risen.
That's right.
But in our brain, we kind of go, oh, well, it's a new day. And you see it all the time. Like we see it all the time on weight loss forums or, low carb forums where somebody said, oh, I've done X, Y, and Z. And overwhelmingly, the advice is don't worry, tomorrow's a new day, you can start again. And we totally get that. That makes entire sense. It's just that sometimes we will have that thought that I've got to wait till a new day or a new week or a new month. And we put off doing like the starting again. We put off doing it until this metaphorical clean slate arrives. And so one of the things I'd like to challenge our listeners on is the idea that actually you can wipe the slate clean whenever you want. You don't have to wait to an arbitrary external time marker. You can decide in the next minute that you've got a clean slate.
You can decide halfway through the Tim Tam. So for those of you not in Australia, a Tim Tam is a chocolate biscuit with chocolate cream coated in chocolate. It's quite a popular confectionery in Australia. It's a processed biscuit that people buy from supermarkets.
An iconic processed Australian biscuit.
Processed, full of seed oils and sugar. And so, somebody has a stressful day at work. Their boss is unhelpful. Their colleague is mean to them. Any kind of stressor, perhaps they might then revert to old tools to deal with the stress, old tools of emotional eating. And as we mentioned, that ain't right, that ain't wrong. It's just a tool that may or may not serve you properly. And then they buy the Tim Tams and they eat one. Feel terrible. I've gone off plan. I've eaten the Tim Tam. The thought in your head then might be, oh, well, it's too late now. Might as well just eat the whole packet. Perhaps then go to the service station and buy some more and some ice cream and drink this bottle of wine because tomorrow is another day. But you can actually stop halfway through the Tim Tam if you want to. You can even spit the Tim Tam out into the sink or the bin and stop there. You can make yourself a metaphorical clean slate right then and there, ceremoniously throw out the rest of the Tim Tams and start again there. This is just one example of how you can challenge your thoughts about starting again. You can start again whenever you want.
Absolutely. And I mean, you've heard us say this a gazillion times, but this is part of the reason people will finish the packet of Tim Tams so that they can start again the following day with a clean slate. There's no Tim Tams available anymore because they've all been eaten. So therefore the slate is clean and fresh and I can start again. But that does also feed into this perfectionism that is associated with diet culture where it really is all or nothing. You're eating a whole packet of Tim Tams or you're eating none. And it doesn't actually have to be like that. You don't have to finish the Tim Tams to get rid of them. You are allowed to chuck them out. And I know that is like this very, very difficult thing for us to do, not because, we don't want to throw them out. It's food wastage. Food wastage is a sin up there with murder, wasting food. And I agree, we shouldn't waste real food. But there is nothing real about a Tim Tam or any processed garbage. So if your option is for you to feel like you have a clean slate, if your options are either I have to eat it and then I've got a clean slate, or I could throw it out and then I've got a clean slate, just choose the second one.
Yeah. We absolutely love a good metaphor at Real Life Medicine. And one of our favourite metaphors is the all-terrain four-wheel drive vehicle, which we'll dive into now. Language is important, and there's lots of language around diet culture and behaviour change. And one thing that people will say is, I fell off the wagon. And I don't like it. We don't like it, this idea that you're on a wagon. It implies that your health journey is just you on a wagon being pulled by a couple of horses that you don't even control. And if you hit the pothole, which is, the stressful encounter at work, and you go and eat the Tim Tams because of it, you get thrown out of the wagon. The wagon just keeps on riding off into the distance and you're just stuck languishing in the gutter on the side of the road with your Tim Tams. Like, oh, well, I fell off the wagon. What can I do? It's not my fault. I fell off. Oh, well, I'll just eat the Tim Tams. No, there's not a wagon. Your health ride is not a wagon. And another one that is quite common is getting derailed. You know, this idea that your health is somehow a train on a rigid set of tracks heading towards your destination. But if, you know, the stressful encounter at work is somehow forces, you know, a big rock on the rails that forces the train off the tracks, that you are then forced to just lie on the side of the tracks, forever rusting, never getting back on, eating your Tim Tams and all the things because you were derailed. You were derailed. You know, the stress just derailed me. No, it's not a wagon. It's not a train ride. Your health journey is actually you driving an all-terrain four-wheel drive vehicle that can go anywhere at any time. You can take this baby wherever you want. And if you fall down the Tim Tam ditch because of a stressful encounter at work, at any time, you can then just put your foot on the gas, put it into gear and turn it, yank the steering wheel and go back onto whatever track you want. At any moment, at any time, you are always the driver of your health journey.
Absolutely. And you know what I love about this is the idea that actually you are the boss. And we say this a lot. You're the boss of you. You are the boss of your car, the boss of your vehicle. You're not helpless to external influences. And I think sometimes we think we are, that we have no options because of an external event, a stressful event. But we actually do. And at the start, it's hard sometimes to use your new options because when we're stressed, we will always go back to an old tool, an old habit perhaps. But when you're in periods where you're not distressed, it's a beautiful opportunity to really cement your new foundations. And the more you think your thoughts, this is weird, then the stronger they are and the longer they are.
You can literally change your brain by changing your thoughts. And it isn't necessarily easy to change your thoughts. You know, it takes a bit of practice. The first few times that you fall down that Tim Tam ditch in your all-terrain four-wheel drive vehicle, it might take a bit of a while before you can figure out how to get it back in gear and to get back on track. That is, changing your thoughts and getting back on track. But the more you do it, the more you practice it, the stronger the neural connections become with these new thoughts and these new ideas and these new empowerments, and the easier it gets. And honestly, it doesn't matter if you fall down ditches here and there and go off track here and there. It's really what you do most of the time that's important, that you just keep progressing towards your goals. You don't need to get there perfectly. You just need to keep going. And you can.
Absolutely. And you know what? I remember reading about, I think it was a jet flying from, say, Melbourne to San Francisco makes, making up a number here, let's say 6,000 micro-corrections along the way to keep on its path, to keep straight. If it didn't make those micro-corrections, instead of ending in San Francisco, it would end up in Alaska. So the idea is that you make little changes all the time. We don't need to wait until we've sort of fallen so far down the ditch that we then go, oh, okay, enough's enough. We don't need to wait till we hit rock bottom to start again. You can start again at any stage, at any time, at any moment. It is never too late to start again.
Lucy, we talk a lot about how to change your thoughts around, starting again, how to change your thoughts around food, how to change your thoughts around stress and emotional eating, all of the different tools that are useful to allow you to continue to make those micro corrections on your continued journey to progressing towards better health and better wellness. Could we go through a few of some of those tools now that people could start practicing and start using today?
Absolutely. So I think the first thing to remember that a thought is just a connection between two nerve cells in your brain. So neurons, that's the fancy name for nerve cells, live in your brain. And when two are connected, that's a thought. Now, the more you have that thought, then the deeper that connection is. So, like a rut in the road, the more you think it, the deeper the rut, or a path in the grass. The more you walk it, then, the clearer the path is. If you walk across a lawn once, there's no path. But if you walk across again and again and again, then it's a very clear path. So when you first decide to change a thought, at first it might feel really hard, or you might not even be interested. I remember, now how's this? Just some disconnect. I remember once, and this might be about 10 years ago, I used to drink a lot of Diet Coke as part of my, diet culture. Diet Coke, Diet Pepsi, all of that, diet drinks. And I remember one day another girl said to me, did you know that there are people out there, Lucy, who only drink Diet Coke for their hydration? And I'm going, yeah, like I'm one of them, big deal. And she looked at me horrified. She goes, what do you mean? You don't drink water? I go, no, I hate water. I'm not drinking that. Why would I drink that when I can have Diet Coke? So that was my thought. Why would I drink water when I can have Diet Coke? Now, the hilarious thing now is I think, why would I have Diet Coke when I can have water? It's a completely 180 on the thought. And it's because I now recognize, in my head, I thought that Diet Coke would keep me thin. I thought that by drinking a low-calorie soft drink, I could have my sweetness, literally have my cake and eat it too. And I had my mind closed to the chemical shitstorm that is in diet soft drinks. I wasn't interested in that. And it was only upon, further, I guess, moving towards a more open mind and the recognition that maybe this stuff's actually not that good for me, and maybe it actually doesn't help with my weight loss, because I sure as hell could never maintain any weight loss, that I decided to have a different thought about it. And my thought became, I don't think Diet Coke's very helpful. So it was a slow change. I didn't go from, because my previous thought was, I love Diet Coke, I'll never be able to live without it. I then turned to, I don't think Diet Coke would be very helpful, to now my new thought is really, I would never drink Diet Coke. It's really unhelpful. I don't even like it. Like it's a complete. So the 180 didn't happen in one step, but I changed it to something that became helpful to me and believable to me as well. And then just worked a little bit more on that.
Yep. Nice little incremental steps. Beautiful.
You've probably seen, I'm sure most of you have seen that picture that's got the ladder, and it's got, one ladder's got, 50 little rungs, and the other ladder's got 5 rungs that are really far apart. Sometimes doing the little rungs actually gets you where to what you want to be. If the rung is too far apart, then you don't actually get to change what you want to change. So coming up with a thought that is different to the one you've got, because, Mares, we've got a couple of sayings around that. And one of them, I'm sure you've all heard this, that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing but expecting a different outcome.
Yep.
And what's your one, Mares, that you love?
If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. Sometimes you need to try something new.
Yes. So if your thought around a particular food or a substance or something that, we have sometimes people come in and they go, I'm not prepared to do that. And that's okay. Again, you're the boss of you. You get to choose. But sometimes just having an open mind about something and challenging your thoughts on why you're not prepared to do it. And often it's just that it's a process that you've thought something. For me, if you'd asked me 10 years ago, I'm not prepared to give up Diet Coke. Here I am 10 years later thinking, how the hell did I drink Diet Coke? So keeping that mind a little bit opening and just challenging yourself to have a slightly different thought. Doesn't necessarily have to be a 180 to begin with, but just something a little different. Mares, have you got an example that you've done?
Oh, yeah. So very commonly I'll see people who are trying low carb for their health, but have this idea that it's boring. It's so restrictive. It's just, I can't eat eggs. I'm over eggs. I don't want to have any more eggs for breakfast. Therefore, I can't do low carb real food. Is actually quite a common story that people have in their heads. It is the idea that if you're not having cereal, crumpets and bread and toast, that the diet is really restrictive and boring. And so I just like to gently invite people to start to challenge these thoughts around breakfast. That it's not a case of only ever have eggs for breakfast for the rest of your life, whether you want it or not, or, don't don't have low carb, that don't ever eat low carb again. Like, it's not a binary choice here. And sometimes just talking through the logic in people, and I always invite people to come up with their own thoughts around this with some gentle encouragement and gentle challenging. And many people will come to the conclusion that, okay, there are other options than just eggs, and that perhaps this is just a story in my head and that it's not actually real.
Absolutely. And in fact, I reckon probably a few years ago I could have been one of those people, because the thing about eggs, as you know, is they don't elicit much of a dopamine response, and they're very filling. So if you're not super hungry, then you really won't want an egg. And if you're looking for dopamine, you're not going to get it from eggs. So the idea that the food is boring is a little story that your brain will offer so that it can potentially get the dopamine via some processed sugary cereal. And certainly that's what my brain would have done in the past. It would have said, oh my God, this is so boring. I need a bit more excitement. Well, I no longer need excitement from my food. My food's delicious. I have a reasonable repertoire. I'm not Julia Child. I don't have, hours to spend on meals, as you all know. But what I do eat is really delicious. It's flavorful. And I'm really happy to eat the same thing multiple times because it keeps my brain quiet. It stops my cravings. And for me, that's brilliant. I am very happy to sacrifice variety for a quiet brain.
I'm the same. I'm quite sure that my repertoire is probably even more limited than yours. But I cook for a child who's got, just kind of plain childish tastes, and I can't be bothered cooking more than one meal. So, but I'm cool with that. And beautiful listeners, if you want to have a very varied diet, you can. Low carb real food is limited only by your imagination. You don't have to take the tact that I am, which is to have the same 7 meals on rotation all the time. I do that just because it suits me.
On your brown plates, #ugly food.
That's right. My chipped brown plates that I bought from the up shop. Yep.
Whereas some of our members, and in fact Clara, if you're listening, she and Melissa, they do spectacular, beautifully plated up low-carb meals, incredible variety, little garnishes, and they make, look, I feel like I'm watching a thing from a restaurant when I look at their photos. So, yeah, absolutely doesn't have to be boring. But, there's nothing wrong with boring either.
It's delicious, filling, yummy, satiating meals is all that you need. So you can change your thoughts, and you can start changing your thoughts at any time. You can create your own metaphorical clean slate within your mind at any time, and you are the boss of you, and you are driving your own health journey.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That, what you've just defined, that's empowerment. You are empowered. And there is that little, just to sort of use a little train analogy, but is it the little red, there was a little red engine, I think it was, that just
the engine that could.
Going. The engine that could, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, good, thank you. Mother of small child.
Yeah.
Excellent. I was dragging out some memories from very long ago. But, you can be the little engine that could. You just keep at it until what you once thought was hard becomes easy.
It does. I look back now to where I've come from, eating ice cream secretly in the locked bathroom because it was the only bathroom that locked, and me thinking that this was a completely legitimate way for me to deal with the stress of, working and parenting. This was a while ago, guys. To now, I really struggle to bring myself to buy ice cream, even for other people. I'm buying ice cream for my Christmas Eve party, and I'm fastidiously reading the ingredients and going, trying to find the least worst ice cream. I have come an incredibly long way. There's nothing particularly amazing or, remarkable about me. I'm a human with a human brain, and I've managed to change my thoughts and change my health by changing my beautiful human brain one thought at a time.
Absolutely. I love that. One thought at a time. Beautiful. All right, lovely listeners, we will be seeing you next week. Have a wonderful week. Bye for now.
Bye, everybody.
Lovely listeners, as you know, we run the 12-week mind-body rebalance 3 times a year. The next one starts in February. If you'd like to join the waitlist and get early access to bonus offers, head over to our website, rlmedicine.com, and join the waitlist today. So, my lovely listeners, that ends this episode of Real Health and Weight Loss. I'm Dr. Lucy Burns.
And I'm Dr. Mary Barson. We're from Real Life Medicine. To contact us, please visit rlmedicine.com.
And until next time, thanks for listening. The information shared on the Real Health and Weight Loss podcast, including show notes and links, provides general information only. It is not a substitute, nor is it intended to provide individualized medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment, nor can it be construed as such. Please consult your doctor for any medical concerns.